The world of professional wrestling thrives on intensity, unpredictability, and emotion, and no superstar embodies those elements better than Dean Ambrose, the man who now goes by the name Jon Moxley in AEW. Known for his raw aggression, unfiltered honesty, and rebellious attitude, Ambrose has never been one to hold his tongue or back down from confrontation. After the shocking betrayal that rocked the wrestling world, a betrayal that involved the Vision, Seth Rollins, and the manipulative mastermind Paul Heyman, Ambrose has finally spoken out. And as always, he didn't need a long speech or a carefully prepared promo to make his point clear. All he said was, "I only got one thing to say." But those words carried enough weight to shake both WWE and AEW to their core. The story begins in the aftermath of one of the most chaotic weeks in wrestling history. The Vision, a faction once built on unity, purpose, and dominance, imploded in spectacular fashion. Seth Rollins, who had prided himself on being the visionary leader, found himself blindsided and betrayed by his own allies, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. What was once a symbol of excellence had been reduced to rubble in a single night. But behind the scenes, whispers began to spread, whispers that Paul Heyman had a hand in orchestrating the chaos, pulling strings the same way he has done for decades. When it comes to power moves and manipulation, Heyman is a grandmaster, and his influence stretches far beyond one brand or promotion. As the news of the betrayal spread, one man watched it all unfold from a distance: Dean Ambrose, a man who knows betrayal better than anyone. He has lived it, survived it, and used it as fuel to evolve. Seeing his former Shield brother Rollins fall into the same trap that he himself once experienced stirred something inside him. For Ambrose, this wasn't just another story or another wrestling angle. It was personal. The Shield had been built on brotherhood, trust, and loyalty, yet it was destroyed from within, leaving scars that never fully healed. Ambrose knows the pain of betrayal, the bitterness of deception, and the loneliness that follows when allies become enemies. When cameras finally caught up with him backstage after an AEW taping, Ambrose wasn't in the mood for theatrics. Dressed in his usual rugged style, eyes burning with a familiar intensity, he stared directly into the camera and addressed Heyman's growing influence in both companies. "I only got one thing to say," he began, his voice low and steady, a tone that hinted at restrained fury. "You might think you're the smartest guy in the room, Paul. You might think you can pull the strings and make the world dance to your tune. But you don't know what you've started. You don't know what's coming." It was a short statement, but in those few words, Ambrose conveyed years of pent-up emotion and a clear warning. For someone like Heyman, who thrives on mind games and manipulation, this was the last kind of message he wanted to hear, one from a man with nothing left to lose. Moxley's, Ambrose's, message didn't just resonate with Heyman. It sent shockwaves through both locker rooms. In WWE, Seth Rollins reportedly reacted to the clip by staying silent, choosing instead to process the meaning behind his former brother's words. In AEW, Moxley's fellow wrestlers understood that when he speaks like that, it's not just for show, it's a declaration of intent. Ambrose doesn't talk unless he means it, and when he says something is coming, people know chaos will follow. The tension between WWE and AEW has always been an unspoken undercurrent in the wrestling world. Despite being separate promotions, the line between them often blurs when personal rivalries and shared histories come into play. Ambrose's message reignited speculation about a potential crossover, a rare moment where the two worlds could collide for something monumental. Fans immediately began dissecting every word, analyzing his tone, his body language, and the timing of his statement. Many saw it as a direct warning not just to Heyman but to the entire system, a statement that Ambrose is still watching, still dangerous, and still willing to get involved if pushed too far. To understand the full weight of his words, one must remember Ambrose's complicated history with both Heyman and Rollins. Back in WWE, Ambrose had a reputation for being unpredictable, the wild card of the Shield, while Rollins was the ambitious architect and Roman Reigns was the powerhouse. When Rollins betrayed the Shield under the influence of the Authority, it shattered Ambrose's faith in brotherhood. Over time, those wounds hardened into cynicism. Now, years later, to see Rollins fall victim to manipulation again, This time under Heyman's shadow must have felt like déjà vu. Ambrose's message wasn't just anger, it was disappointment, maybe even a warning to Rollins as much as to Heyman. His tone suggested a man who's seen this cycle repeat too many times, loyalty being traded for power, friendship sacrificed for fame, and trust destroyed for control. While he's no longer part of WWE, Ambrose's soul is still tied to that world in ways few can understand. He may have walked out of the company years ago, but the emotional connections, rivalries, and unfinished business still linger like ghosts from the past. What makes Ambrose's declarations so powerful is that it transcends brands and contracts. It's not about company allegiance or television ratings. It's about the spirit of rebellion that defines professional wrestling, the desire to stand up against manipulation and control, no matter where it comes from. By invoking Heyman's name, Ambrose lit a fuse that could explode into something much bigger. Heyman, of course, is not one to stay silent when challenged. Insiders have reported that he responded behind the scenes, calling Ambrose's words a reckless provocation. But those who know Heyman know that he secretly enjoys chaos. It's his playground. The more unpredictable the environment, the more power he can seize. If Ambrose wants war, Heyman is the kind of man who won't back down from it. The thought of Ambrose or Moxley crossing paths again with someone under Heyman's influence has fans buzzing. Imagine a confrontation between Moxley and Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, with Heyman in the middle once again, manipulating outcomes for his own benefit. Or picture Moxley stepping into a WWE arena, uninvited, to deliver his message face-to-face. It's the kind of fantasy that blurs the line between fiction and reality, something Ambrose has always been a master of. Beyond the surface, there's a deeper message behind Ambrose's words. It's about independence, integrity, and identity in an industry often dominated by politics. When he says, "I only got one thing to say," he's not just calling out Heyman. He's reminding the world that he doesn't play by anyone's rules. He doesn't need a corporation's approval, a scripted promo, or a spotlight to make an impact. His authenticity is his weapon. In an era where so many performers are controlled by corporate agendas, Ambrose remains one of the last truly free spirits in wrestling. His message is a symbol of resistance, a reminder that no matter how powerful the system becomes, there will always be someone willing to fight back. The emotional weight of his statement is magnified by his journey. From his early days wrestling in grimy venues to becoming a WWE champion and then leaving it all behind to carve his own path, Ambrose has always stayed true to himself. His rebirth in AEW as John Moxley.